Hi, this is a new series that I am calling Let's Paint. This is actually, this isn't the first episode. I kind of tried the same format, but started it a little bit differently with a different mini. And that mini has been put on hold for a while. It was the Norm Emissary. And I'm calling this Let's Paint. And this episode is Let's Paint a Space Marine Intercessor, because it's the first thing I ever started painting. If you want to just watch this for fun, that's perfectly fine. If you want to see how I do stuff, that's also fine. I will be jumping in and out of the video doing voiceover work because I could not think of all this stuff while I was in the middle of painting because I had to focus. Couple things. I always prime all my minis, and these particularly are push fit minis. I sub-assembly paint push fit because they go together super easy no matter what. And I do a lot of sub-assembly painting in general. Like if the arms, I keep arms, head, power pack if whatever mini I'm painting has a power pack. And I keep all those off just to make it easier to paint them and to paint the body and the heads. I mean, you'll see further along in this video that if I was to put the arms on, I could not paint certain parts of the body or the head. So I'll let you get into the video. I always prime my models before I do any of the painting. I always try to not fill in, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but there's a lot of little, like I'm about ready to start painting over it, but there's like these little vent shaft looking things in his armor. Now, if I paint any of those in, I do go back with a thing that you'll see in this video later to fill those back in with kind of a black color so they still stay black. But I'll let the video play and I'll catch up with you after we are done putting the blue base coat down. I did want to add that you can switch out colors to fit whatever chapter that you want to paint, and it's going to turn out perfectly fine. It's going to turn out the exact same way that I did it. If you're doing like Blood Angels and you changed it to red, or if you were to do like White Scars, or what's the other one? Can't think of the other one. Imperial Fists. I would say probably those paints need a second coating, and black primer is probably not the best color primer to use. I know from my use of black primer on my khorne berserkers, it's okay. I don't know what it would look like if I did white, and maybe I should try doing a white primer underneath, but I know like white, obviously white's super easy for the White Scars. You primed it and it's painted your color. All you gotta do is trim. And I've seen people show that white is a better base coat for yellow as well. So keep that in mind when you're deciding what chapters you're painting. And I will now see you later when we're done with the basing of this model. Now that we are done with the base coat, we will work on the holster color, the belt, and a couple other things here. Now, I'm using a 50-50 mix of Vallejo colors. One is Beastie Brown, and the other is, when I find it here, there it is. It is just Vallejo black. It's an equal part split, so one, it's 50-50, I guess is what it's technically. Now, afterwards, I will be going back over with contrast paint from Citadel. That is snakebite leather. I have found this is the best way to make leather look really good. And I do a lot of like actually trying to make leather look good, because I'm pretty sure most of my Space Marines in general have some sort of leather pouch on them. And the like those little leather pouches, and every one of them has a holster. And I want to get better at doing leather, because I do have a box of Death Corps of Krieg that I will eventually want to paint, and there is 10 Death Riders, I think is what they're called, 10 like cavalry minis that I have to paint. I'm sorry if you can hear that train. And there's a lot of leather on those minis, so I want the leather color to turn out pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with the way this one turned out in the end. So we'll do the leather. I'm pretty sure I do like the little straps that you'll be able to see here. I do those metallically. And then let me think if there's anything else that I do before I go ahead and leave you with the video for a little bit. I'm pretty sure I do the what is it, the Aquila, the thing on the chest. It's gold for Ultramarines. I'm pretty sure it's called an Aquila. So I'll get those done, and once we're finished with that, I will jump back in the video. Okay, so now we will go ahead and work on the base of the Mini, the actual thing it will sit on. Um, Make sure you got the right size base. Sometimes people do mess that up. Certain minis are supposed to go on certain sizes. I don't think a lot of people would make it too big of a fuss if you accidentally did one wrong, but if you did them all wrong, somebody might make a fuss about that. I'm using a dollar store brush because these, what is it? This is specifically Vallejo diorama mud. These, if you don't clean them thoroughly enough, will ruin a paintbrush. And I like my black paintbrushes because they're really good to use. So I use dollar store brushes just to be safe. I don't want to ruin them. And so I do my bases like this. I do color all the way around it. I don't like the sitting out and like being black, but I will say that what are they? My World Eaters has a black rim, and I'm kind of 50-50 on it right now. So as of right now, I still do all of my ultramarines and tyranids and everything else other than the World Eater ones as like a full texture paint around the whole rim of the base. Now, this stuff takes a while to dry, so if you need to, go ahead and let this sit for 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe. I think I actually got up after painting this and got a snack. So I will see you after I believe we should be starting on the arms or backpack soon. And I will talk about that more when we get to it. A couple things I forgot to mention. We are not starting on the backpacks or anything next. We are actually starting on the contrast paint for the front side of the Mini because I forgot about this. If you mess up any part of painting, it's painting. It's painting a Mini. It's not the end of the world. Especially since if you give it proper time to sit and dry, unlike me later in this video, because I am impatient, you can paint over what the mistake was and nobody will be able to tell the difference. I know because I did a lot of painting over on my first Mini of a lot of mistakes when I first started painting. So, always close those Citadel pot lids. Oh my goodness. I spilt specifically that kind, snakebite leather, more than one time. So this is a push fit Mini. This goes right onto the base with no need for glue or anything. So that's kind of the nice thing about these. Also, sometimes you'll fight them, like you'll see that I'm doing. And if you do that, go ahead and take a hobby knife and safely kind of like wring out the area that it's supposed to go into. Make sure you get whatever's in there out, and it should pop right in like this one does, but not a whole lot of effort. And your Mini is successfully on its base and still in the shot, which is a good thing. So we will go on to work on the power pack next. The first thing I'll do is put a base coat down. Then after that, I will do I'll put the base coat down And then I think I let it sit and dry for a little bit. A lot of times I'll transfer between holding the mini by hand and letting it like sit on my little, I forget what these are called. It's what I paint them on. I can't remember what they're called, and it's going to drive me nuts. I'm going to call it a miniature holder. I know that's not what it's called, but that's just what I'm going to call it. And I've got some putty that I'll stick it to because my hand started to cramp so bad. Not my hand, but my forearm started to cramp so bad just sitting there holding that. So I will see you once we finish up what we're working on here, because I know I do a bunch of stuff by just doing base coats. So I'll see you once I'm finished with that. So here we shall start on the actual metallic coloring of the bolter. Um, for the bullets, like that are in the magazine, I specifically use copper from what's the copper? What the copper color from um, Acrylic Pro, which is a Monument Hobbies brand. I don't know who owns the brand or whatever. I'm just telling you what it's from. It always works out pretty well for a lot of my copper stuff. I use them for pyre blasters, and you might see that sometime in the near future. Near future. Um, I don't do a whole lot of metallics on my guns just because it makes them overly complicated. And while I do want to add some detail, I want to keep this in the possibility of a first time painter getting whatever colors. You don't have to have the same brand that I do. I'm telling you the brand that I use just because if you want to use the exact same brand as me, you perfectly can. I'm not sponsored in any way by any of these brands or anything. I do this entirely for fun. So we get this Yeah, we're painting this. The only thing I will say is some people drill out their barrels, and I do that as well. I did not in this video just because, like I said, I want this to be a mini that anyone could paint at home with a paintbrush. Well, with little paintbrushes because you're not gonna slap a big one with it, and like basic paints like that you could get from a Citadel thing. Except for I don't think Citadel, it's like starter box gives you snakebite leather or a couple of the other paints that I use. Anyways, we'll get this bolter done and get the arms put on, and you can watch me fight those for like 10 minutes. It really made me mad. They kept falling off. So I'll talk to you after we get those finally situated.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you're ever gonna fight putting a mini together like I am about to, it hasn't happened yet. I know it's happening because I'm doing a voiceover for this video. Super glue is a great thing to have on hand, while the extra thin cement stuff that I have on camera right now works great. Sometimes it does not do the trick, and it's about to come up because I'm working on this gold trim because it's super watery, and this is where I said if you're just patient and let it dry, you can paint right over it. And I'm not being patient, and I'm just like, come on, I want to get this done. We're an hour in, and I'm trying to rush it for some reason. Most people take, I know a lot of the people that it would probably take 5 hours to paint a single mini, which is perfectly fine. I've gotten pretty quick on painting these. I do a pretty sloppy paint job to start with, but I go back and do a lot of touch-ups. So, it's about to happen. Any second now, something is going to fall off. I know it. I can't remember why I was touching up the blue, because you can't see it in this, but I know that it had a dark spot. Yeah, that's what it was. I went to go pull the mini off of the putty, and it just pulled everything right off. So I said, all right, you know what? And that fell off too. I said, you know what? I'm done. this demands for something a little bit stronger. I thought about trying to get it glued on again with that stuff, and I was just eventually like, you know what? I've got a whole bunch of super glue sitting next to me, and what would be the point of continuing to try to use that stuff, because it clearly is not having a great time. Now, if you base your minis before painting them and you try to sub-assemble with that, I'm gonna butcher this, I do it every time, Tamiya extra thin cement. If you do that, the paint that you have on your mini will rub off, and not only that, but it will not want to glue properly, as you can see in this video, where that really did not like to go together, because in about 2 seconds it's gonna fall off again, and that's where I just say screw it, let's get the super glue. I am super happy with how the skull turned out on that left shoulder of the Space Marine. I'm super happy with the way it turned out. It's probably one of the best skulls I've painted so far. And any second now, there it goes. Yep, it just comes right off. And it just ticks me off. Sometimes this stuff works flawlessly and fabulously. Other times it does not. So I'm pretty sure I bumped my desk when I went to go get it, because if I remember right, it's like not that far away, so I just got up real quick to get some. And it's just some basic super glue. I bought like, what was it, a 24 pack off of Amazon of just like 1 gram super glue ounce, or 1 gram super glue containers. And tell you what, it's super helpful. You don't waste a whole bunch of super glue if you don't use it all. And be careful though, because putting it on your mini and accidentally gluing your mini to your finger is a very good way to peel off all the hard work in the paint that you just put on it. So I finally got it super glued, and that means once I'm officially done super gluing it and it's all good to go, we will work on the most complicated part, at least to me, the helmet. Oh, there we go. It's good. I'm giving myself a thumbs up. These little shield things, I kind of stick wherever. So there's not like a real perfect rhyme or reason spot for these. Just put them wherever you'd like them. Mostly on the armor of the Mini and on the front side, because I don't think I've really seen any on the back side. I decided to just put this in that what would it be? The Space Marine's left pauldron. I put that right there, just so he'd have 2 skulls on the one side, I guess. I don't know. I just put it there just because it'd be the easiest and out of the way when I go to put on transfer sheets, which I have a video of how to do that, and I will link it at the top right-hand corner of the screen right now. We'll start working on the helmet. The easiest way I have found to do helmets in general, sorry for the squeaky chair, let me adjust it right now so it'll stop. Is I do my base, I let it dry, and I try to do the little grill, the mouth grill guard, whatever it is. I try to keep that from getting filled in with paint. I'm unsuccessful, if I remember correctly, in doing it in this video. I know it's at a distance, and I'm looking on it than a much smaller screen than probably you are. So hopefully, it's good blown up size for you, and it's easy for you to kind of see what I'm doing here. I think I tried to move it closer to the camera once, and now I'm painting and looking, and the camera's right where my forehead is, so you're getting very much the view that I'm looking at, and I see now that it's in a lot more focus than I thought it would be, which is good. So, like I said, I do the base color, which is blue. Then I do the face shield kind of area underneath the eyes and that. And then afterwards, I will do the eyes. Now, I screw up on the eyes when I do this. I'm not perfect at doing eyes yet. Takes some time, takes some practice. This putty really likes to stick to my hands once the putty's gotten warmed up. I'm not blaming that. I'm just saying if you're going to do how I'm doing it with that putty, it will get stuck to your hands once the putty gets warmer. So we get this knocked out real quick. The little hose things that go to his face, I like to paint those silver along with his little ear muffs. They're not muffs. They're his little ear coverings. I paint those silver as well. And I do a red color for the eyes just because it's a good contrast on the blue. So we'll get this finished, and then I believe we will add a touch of terrain to the base of the mini. This is a small based mini, so it does not need a whole lot of extra touches up on the terrain. And we will see you when we get to there. It's either that or it will be touching up the lines with some panel line accent color, black. Actually, oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, I'm just messing with the putty. So I will see you when we start doing that. Okay, so now that the helmet is fully painted, we will go ahead and glue it onto the Mini. Or actually, apparently we will not. We will use this stuff first because I can't remember how I did this 30 minutes ago. So this stuff is super useful for filling in spots like this. It's just to go into little crevices. Use gloves when you're doing this, and or wash your hands immediately afterwards, because if you get this stuff on your hands, it's not really good for you at all. It says it's a carcinogen. Not gonna go in about how many carcinogens I've probably dealt with being a firefighter, but anyways, I like to do this just because it adds some line color that I could not do by hand. I do not do I don't remember what it's called, highlighting, where you do like the edge highlights. Yeah, edge highlighting. I do not do that because minis take long enough to paint. I don't want to sit here and tell new people who are just getting into the hobby that you have to do edge highlighting. So you know that mini you just spent probably 4 hours painting, you're gonna spend another 2 messing it up and fixing it. So some people might take the edge highlighting a lot better than I did. I tried it once and said, not doing it anymore. So we go ahead and do these. I do set this down, and there's going to be a little break, I'm pretty sure, because I get very close to getting this on my hands. Did I not do this on camera? No, I did. Okay, good. I put it on putty so it wouldn't necessarily get to my hands. Now, this stuff, if you don't kind of like clean out the stuff, that the little brush that is on there, if you don't clean it out, you'll have way too much to fill holes in. So I remember I went and dabbed that on a paper towel, quickly washed my hands, because like I said, that stuff does not need to be on anyone's skin, and you should really wear gloves while doing this. And I was tired and didn't want to put gloves on, more or less. Anyways, we got that done. So we will glue the head onto the Mini. And what am I doing? There we go. This is usually a lot easier. I don't know why this one particularly. It could have been just the way it lined up. It looked goofy, so I had to readjust the head. And that is an almost finished Space Marine intercessor. I did a little cut there where I went and washed my hands and grabbed the grass that I always use for Space Marines and Tyranids, and we'll put a little touch of grass on there. If I remember right, that grass is from the Army Painter base kit. I get like a lot of the stuff I use for my berserkers, I use for that. Oh, that's right, we forgot to paint a prayer, because what is a good Space Marine without a prayer from one of his chaplains? So I use khorne red to do the wax color. It used to be a mixture of just red and black paint. I find khorne red is like the perfect color, and you can see I'm going to put way too much on here, but that's all right. The paint's going to dry up. You'll eventually be able to see the skull in after a while. I do use regular extra thin cement to glue it on initially, and then it falls off. So I do the good old super glue and get it glued on there perfectly in the end. I will catch up to you when we are done with that and everything is painted. Now that we got everything painted and properly based, this is the full mini painted. This is a, like I said, Space Marine Intercessor. I only need one of these because, oh, that's right, this is when that falls off. This is when I super glued that on. But anyways, I'm going to talk like it's the end of the video because it practically is. So, this is the full Space Marine Intercessor. It took, well, you should know how long it took because there are no cuts in this video. The only cuts that I made is when I was not sitting and painting. So, the entire running of this video where I am painting, that's how long it took me to paint this mini. For some people, that's fast. For some people, it's not. I'm no, what is it, Golden Dragon, Golden Demon. I'm not an award-winning painter, okay? We'll be entirely honest here. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not going to be that way. So, I want to say thank you for making it all the way to the end if you have. I really can't express how much it really does mean to me. I am going to touch up a few things as I'm getting ready to say goodbye. I want to keep this as a series. So if you do like it as a series and want to see more of these, please leave a like. Feels really weird saying that. And if you are happy about just, and you could have skipped to the end, if you want to see more, and I do want to do more of these in the future, it's just sitting down and painting a whole mini on camera, please let me know. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe because I will plan on doing more of this once I've got more minis. Well, I've got plenty of minis once I get more time to do it. So, thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.